I am Neil.
I'm Veronica. We fell in love when we were 16, and here we are talking about what life is all about for us. Thank you for joining us.
This is a Life Is podcast with Neil and Veronica.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Life Is with Neil and Veronica, who is beside me. And if you're listening to this in order, happy spring. We've made it through the winter. And if you've noticed, for those of you who join us on the regular, thank you for doing that. But we are actually back from break. We took a week off where we spent March break as a family on a trip. So we were actually in a very sunny location in Orlando, Florida. We were lucky enough to stay at a nice family resort and have some time together and really just enjoy some sun at this much needed time of the year. And of course, since we were there with the kids on their first trip, we decided to take them to Disney. So I thought it'd be very fitting, Veronica, that we talk about life is magical, because we did take them to Magic Kingdom. But in talking about this, yes, being at Disney, whether you're 8 or 80, it's just a feeling you get in that place. It's really heightened. It's like a lot of, that thoughts and feelings of like, wow, and fun and joy. But you don't have to, and we talked about this, go to those places to experience that. And what we really just want to chat about is how life is magical even when you're not at Disney, and finding those moments where you're doing something for the first time or something that you really enjoy, whatever it may be for you, your partner, your relationship, or your family. But obviously being in that situation together, we were just looking at each other and talking about, wow, this is a really magical trip, something that, we will always remember. Us. I think our 2 oldest will remember most of it, and then hopefully we can share a lot of the memories and return soon. So Veronica, any thoughts coming off of our trip?
Well, it's definitely magical, and I'm very grateful that we had the opportunity to take the kiddos on a trip like this. So it was like, everyone, so we're back now, and everyone kept asking, how was it? How was the vacation? How was your trip? And my response back to all of them was that it was honestly more magical and more amazing than we could have imagined. So thank you again for tuning in. As Neil mentioned, we took a break, which is also, I think needed for everybody in a sense. Although we did miss podcasting, and I think we did miss checking in and kind of having these conversations together. Although we do that every evening, but I guess more formally in this case too. And it truly was just from start to finish. So we have 3 little ones. For those of you that might not know, they are 4, 6, and 8. And this was technically our first plane trip for our whole family, like as a whole, and for all of the kids. So our oldest, she's been on a plane, is it only once or twice? Once. And she was like 15 months old, I think. So obviously she doesn't remember that at all. So technically, her first plane trip. And actually, that was also magical. Maybe I'll start there. So there's a lot that we could talk about, and like probably it would take way more than the 30 minutes that we usually somehow organically come to in each of our conversations. But I'll start with that. And I know that in this topic, Neil was talking about how there is just so much magic, and especially experiencing things through someone else's perspective. So like Neil and I have been to Disney before, and I mean, we've been on planes before, and our daughter was on a plane before, but when she was really little. And what happened was actually, she's been very excited. She's been very interested in taking pictures and videos. And I think just, documenting memories. Don't know if she gets that from me or where it kind of like maybe innately comes from, but she was very interested. So we had an old phone laying around, and actually it does connect. Like if it's on Wi-Fi, it does connect to the same account as mine, but there's no, I guess, like phone coverage or anything on there. So we basically used it as a camera for her. So we gave it to her. We kind of prepped it, removed everything else off of it, gave it to her at the start of the trip. And she was so excited. So that was something that was really amazing throughout the trip because, obviously when we're taking pictures and videos, I'm there taking pictures and videos of them. And then seeing almost the same moment captured from her perspective and how she wanted to take the picture and video was really, really awesome to look back on as well. So we're on the plane, right? We're about to take off. And not going to lie, as a parent, you're kind of nervous, like traveling with little ones sometimes on a plane and you're like, how's this going to go? I even asked like part of the community before. I was like, okay, hit me with your tips. What do you do? And some people had great ideas about like, wrapping surprises up and giving them a surprise like every hour, things like that. And truthfully, as some of you know, I kind of procrastinate. I literally pack at like 3 a.m. the day before we leave, the day of we leave sometimes. So for those of you that are listening, maybe hearing that just ensued some panic feeling in you, but it's just kind of how I roll. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes I can be a really big planner and sometimes I just go with the flow and sometimes I'm very last minute. So, all to say, didn't really do that. So we get on the plane and she's got the window seat. And, we kind of talked about it the night before. And I was like, she's like, what is it like? Tell me what it's like. And I was like, well, when we get ready for takeoff, like you can kind of hear the engines. It gets really loud. It gets really exciting. And you can kind of tell that you're about to, take off because like the, plane starts moving, whatever else. And so we're about to take off. And I just to relive that moment, I ended up taking a picture of her in that moment. She had like the very giddy belly laugh, if you can imagine that. And the people in front of us were even giggling along with her too. But, she looked outside, she looked at me, and she's like trying to video record at the same time. And she's like, we're in the sky. And she's giggling.
And this is 6 a.m. in the morning, right? Just to preface, like, we took the early flight so we could have the full day there.
That's right.
We all woke up at 3 in the morning and they were ready to go, standing by the door with their luggages. And so, like, again, the magic of going on a plane, the magic of doing something for the first time. And even though she probably was tired and exhausted, just that energy from having that magical moment for all of us, it just really set the tone for the entire trip, I feel like, because it was moment after moment of like discovery and something new. And, they say that to keep your, fulfillment and happiness, doing stuff that's fun, doing stuff that's like outside of what you normally do, or just changing things up is the way to like keep that happiness and fulfillment. And so, obviously you can find things that aren't necessarily big trips, but obviously those have those moments. But yeah, that was quite the magical start to the entire trip.
Yeah. So I think it had everyone kind of giggling around her because everyone, like not only us as her parents were kind of living that moment with her, but I think others were as well because you could hear her. Like it was so, is it like palpable? I don't know if that's the word. But like it was just so like you could really feel that. And I think it maybe made it more, I don't know, everyone kept looking at them because they also, like Melanie, let us borrow like Disney stuff. So they had like their little ears and like these little scrunchies and stuff. And, even when we checked in, like the person at the desk made it even magical from that moment, right? And she was like, where are you going? Let me guess where you're going. And like, as soon as we hopped on the plane, they were like, find Goofy, give him a big hug for me. And just like Neil said, we were able to take a week away. We were able to take them to Disney for a day. We were able to go for the week and, experience this trip with them and make these memories. But, you can find the fun in so many different things. And what I'm realizing now, and maybe we're jumping a bit all over the place, which is standard Veronica, but you don't have to wait for like a certain day or a time to do something special, right? Like it is amazing to have traditions. We talk about that. Life is about traditions. So maybe you do have pizza on Fridays. Maybe you do have movie nights on Fridays. But now, sometimes I look at Neil and I'm like, who cares? Honestly, like, why wait? If we want to have a movie night on a Tuesday, like, let's do it, you know? And I was talking to one of my friends even about making plans on a Sunday evening. And they were like, I know it's like a Sunday evening. You gotta, you have to prep for school on Monday and everything. And I was like, whatever. The time spent with that friend who is so meaningful for her in her life, like that's 1,000% worth it. Like whatever that is. I mean, I think we were talking about how we're also very grateful and very fortunate, I guess, in this stage of life as well, in a sense, to not have to worry about some of the things that can, either throw off their schedules or whatever that looks like. So, it definitely feels like they're growing by the hour and maturing by the hour. But it's just about finding the fun. And, I'm trying to think of even like the little things on our trip, like, pressing an elevator button that can be like anywhere. And yes, sometimes, you press it to go in, you press it to go to your floor. That's 2 buttons if you're counting. Me and math, we have 3 kids. So, at one point, I think someone in the elevator was like, either you can press my floor or if you press it again, it makes it go faster. But it's just finding the fun in the things, because I think it's really easy to get bogged down in the everyday. We talk about that a lot too, right? The to-do list can be long. We say sometimes pick your top 3, pick your top 1. Neil always says to me 1 before 2, before 3. But the list is always long. And when you do cross stuff off, it's easy for multiple things to kind of, creep back up onto that list. And for there to always feel like there's some sort of chore or something that has to be done in life, for sure. Like, I feel like that is just life. Life is just that to-do list sometimes. And it's really easy to get bogged down in like focusing on that. So while we have a podcast about life is about energy, I think that was also important because, as I said at the beginning a little bit was I nervous that we were taking 3 little kids on a plane and we were doing all these things for the first time and we had no idea how it was going to go? Yeah, absolutely. So, I could have been highly anxious. I could have been highly stressed. I could have given off that energy and I was like, you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. Let's just focus on the fun and the magic and like no schedules in a sense of rushing, right? We didn't want to rush through any experiences. So let's focus a little bit, I guess, on our day at Disney because that was super magical. And I also love, Neil and I talked about how sometimes things just feel like they fall into place a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to take things for granted in that sense that, but we never actually intentionally planned to like take the family to Disney in a sense. Like, we actually now have no idea still how we booked this amazing resort that was packed with things for the kids to do, which was incredible, on what is spring break, on our March break. Got like really great deals on flights. And then, we're able to make it to Magic Kingdom on the 50th anniversary. So yeah, super magical. But like 3 kids, we were there. Like, we started our day early in the morning. We were there for rope drop. Yeah. That's what they call it, right? Trying to get on all the lingo. And I'll just pause for you to take a guess of how long we lasted at the park.
Long time.
So we were there from rope drop until we didn't leave the park until 11:30. They closed at 11. We left at like 11:30.
So yeah, just to preface it, so we got on our last ride because we squeezed in like, I think we counted like 18 different rides. We squeezed in our last ride at 10:55 because we're like, we need to do this one last ride. We haven't done it all day. And we went and there was no line. Mm-hmm. And as long as you make it into that line before 11, they'll let you do the ride. Again, part of the magic is they want you to experience it all. But yeah, we with 3 kids, we made it from open to close. Yeah, I think that, talking about life is better slowed down. Obviously, you can't slow down the whole day in every moment. But I think what we tried to do, and you mentioned this before we go, was going in with an open mind, going in without a set plan. Because you can, over plan things like a Disney trip. You can over plan things like a vacation. But when you slow down or you live in the moment and you just let things happen for what works for your family, you really start to experience the magic of the day in a sense where you allow things, because for us, and we were joking about this in the day, was, for any of those of you who have been to Disney recently, is like, you have to sort of plan which part of the park you're in because it's so big. And what they try to say is like, well, if you're in one area, try and do all those rides and book, your passes. We totally did not do that. Honest to goodness, we had to go back probably about 2 or 3 hours and get like a stroller because we were walking from like one end to the other, back to the other that we were just at, and we were all over the place. Honestly, we had no idea or plan on what we wanted to do. We're just like, what's this ride? Okay, is it open? Let's go. And it really was part of, I think, in the end, what made it so magical is that we were just like, what do you want to do? What are we going to do? And like, that was just part of it. So just slowing down, not having a plan worked out for us, and I think made it more magical. But again, it really is even in those moments that you're finding it day to day, where it's not those big trips, when you're slow, like taking those moments to slow down, you can start to find the magic. And, I'll go all the way back to the beginning. My health, my wealth, and myself have been, a pillar to the first few months of this year for myself. And one of the things that I started out to do for myself was to take the time each day to reflect on moments that made me feel grateful and happy each and every day, so that if it was a small joy, a small happiness, or it was big, finding those moments every day consistently, what made me happy, what brought me joy, what made me feel fulfilled, anything that it was. And it could even be like little things. And, I have this, whole book of things now from this beginning of this year that I can look back on each and every day, what brought me joy, fulfillment, or happiness. And I think that just went into, thinking about life is magical every day. And it could be little, it could be big, or it could be anywhere in between.
Well, I think that's a big message too, is that it can be. And I think, it's so easy because we have a lot of responsibilities. Everybody does. Everybody's list is very long and everybody has different circumstances. And there's a lot of things that we can get bogged down in. And I think that's where we kind of bring in again when we talked about life is about significance, because there's so many important things. Now, which of those are truly significant? Which ones do you need to focus on? Which ones can wait? And I think a lot of like the magic too, when I was reflecting on, what you were saying, Neil, is that having the flexibility and the expectation. So, I think it's amazing to like dream big. We say that a lot too. But I think when you allow yourself the flexibility, then, it's not about the focus of what didn't go as planned. It kind of gives you that mindset of like being able to kind of go with the flow, go as things unfold, and just really appreciate like what's happening in the moment too, which was really big. Like every moment, like that's a long day. If you think about all those different moments from rope drop until like we got home, well, the home as in our hotel, we called it home while we were there for a week, at I think 12:30. And then the kids wanted to eat like cereal and have a snack. And, I'll be the first to say that, well, maybe you should be the first to say actually, that anything around bedtime, Neil's usually like, like that. There is no flexibility around anything around bedtime. Neil's like, go to bed. And I can totally appreciate that. But sometimes, we kind of look at each other and I'm like, well, so, in that moment, like honestly, it's 12:30. We have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I was like, turn on the TV, turn on your favorite show. I know we had the most magical day, but go ahead, turn on your favorite show. We'll have some cereal. You're obviously hungry because, we had a really long day and whatever. Like we could have went through all of the, because, Neil's laughing on the side here and he's probably like, he has so many thoughts probably about to spew out, but it's so, I find easy also to find excuses, right? As to like, why not? Why shouldn't you do something? Why shouldn't you embrace something? Why should you not just go for something or just say yes? And I think I'm more that person sometimes, which is like, I find ironic because usually I think I'd be the personality to be like, no, like, don't do that. Meanwhile, I'm like, just say yes, like whatever. And, okay, before I go on to the next thought, because I can be super squirrely, I feel like Neil's thinking a lot here. So
Well, I have two things that stand out as magical from that day. And like, again, we can get into the whole week because there's so many things, but we'll focus on that day because obviously being at a magical place, there's magical moments. One was we sat down at one of the quick service type restaurants and we didn't order food. You know what we ordered? A giant 50th anniversary ice cream sundae. And the server even said, like, you guys you guys are no joke. Like, you knew what you wanted. You sat down and we didn't even need the menus. We're like, we've only here for the ice cream. And it was like one of those moments. We're sitting there, we're looking at, obviously the magical castle with our view, with this giant ice cream. And I mean, it's giant.
it was epic.
And that's all we got. And we
It probably had like,
had 4 cookies, 4 brownies, caramel.
how many scoops of ice cream do you think that thing had?
Maybe 50. I don't know.
Because it was called the 50th?
Maybe. I don't know. And we all just dug in, and it was just this hilarious moment. And we joke about how that was probably what kept them going, all that sugar. But again, like, that might be something that they hold on to as a memory, is eating this giant ice cream. And then at the end of the night, the second part of what I was laughing at was, we had to try and find a charger because we needed to get back to the hotel. We needed GPS, okay? Have you ever been to Disney lately and trying to find a charger? It's not very easy. So FYI, bring one of those little charger packs if you're ever going, because your phone will run out of battery after that long time there, and you're going to need something to charge it. So we found one, okay?
I know where you're going with the story now. I forgot, actually.
Right? It's 11:05, maybe 11:10. Okay, the kids are still loving the whole day. They're not tired. They don't know anything about what time it is, let's say. And we had to sit there for at least, I think it was a good 7-10 minutes just to get enough battery to drive back to the hotel, which was a short drive, luckily. Well, they had bubble wands. Okay. Veronica's mom was generous enough she's like, just buy them something from me because I can't go and I want them to have something to remember. So we got them bubble wands. So there's these, they have lights, they flash, and they blow out bubbles. Okay, they all got one.
It's like a foam party that comes out of a wand.
Okay, so what did the kids do while they waited for Veronica? Because Veronica couldn't plug in the phone and just leave the cord there. No, it had to be her holding into the charger because the charger wasn't staying in. Well, what did they do with the bubble wands? They decided to decorate Veronica in bubbles because they were they were these sticky bubbles that just created a big foam bubble party on somebody, and they were just having the time of their lives. And you know what Veronica said? She goes, I bet you after being there from 9 till 11, the thing that they might remember most is decorating me in bubbles. And I guess, so it's just like those are the moments that you didn't even have to be at Disney. You didn't even have to be like in or on a trip. We could have been at home. We could have been at a park and that happened, and it would have been magical, it would have been fun. So
And
that's,
there's a chance I could have gotten upset.
of course, like, but that's the thing too that we realize is like they're not doing it to like, you know, upset you, or you know, they think it's funny, and it is because it's a bubble that sticks to somebody. That doesn't happen normally. So finding those types of moments, whether you're at Disney, whether you're on vacation, or whether you're at your park or your home, wherever it is, those little moments, those things where you can be like, that was magical, that was fun, that was joyful, that was fulfilling, whatever you are looking for, whatever brings you the happiness. So, you know, after all the rides, you know, we haven't even talked about the rides. We haven't even talked about all the people we met, all the things we did. We've talked about bubbles and ice cream and all those things. So that's what I was thinking about and what really want to talk about when we say life is magical, because again, it doesn't matter where you are. The setting could have been, like I said, anywhere. But what happened in that setting was the magical part. Any thoughts on your bubble experience?
No, but I love that you told that story.
Oh, it was epic.
You just stood there and laughed at me. It was great.
I just enjoyed the whole thing. So, I mean, again, all our episodes intertwine itself, and I feel that we just keep building off of what we have always said, right? Taking the time to reflect, slowing down, you know, energy, and all these other things. So, you know, catching up on those episodes, if you haven't heard them, will really help understand where we're coming from when we say life is magical, because sometimes that's how you are able to realize when you reflect and slow down and you have the right energy, or you know, live in the moment.
And another thing, I guess, in building on that a little bit too, is like the glass balls, for sure. If you haven't heard that analogy, gosh, which one did we talk about that in? In any case, just, you know, it's about prioritizing your glass balls. Is that what it was?
There's no prioritizing.
Is that the one that it was?
Yeah.
And there was one where also we talked about like, just don't wait, you know, because here's the thing, actually, if anyone asked me, and again, like everyone else has an opinion on something, and it's finding what feels right for you, right? Everyone has, even if you think about Magic Kingdom, everyone has a way of enjoying the park. Everyone has a way of planning what's important to them. You know, something might have been very important to one person. Like when we took our oldest there, actually, when she was younger, we really wanted to get her first haircut there. And Neil and I were reflecting on how that was a very different experience going to Magic Kingdom when she was 15 months as opposed to 8 with 2 other kids. So, you know, if someone would ask me like, ooh, like I even said this to Neil, I think I said, having a 4-year-old and bringing a 4-year-old to Magic Kingdom, like, I'm not sure. I mean, we were already there. You know, would we have planned this trip specifically to go to Magic Kingdom or Disney at these ages? We weren't sure what the ideal was. And I think that is a big takeaway, is like, who defines that? Who defines the ideal, right? What is the ideal? You're not going to be able to Google that. There are so many things in your life that, you know, I think often we are seeking some sort of answer, some sort of sign, you know, someone's opinion on what the ideal, or like when to say yes, or when to do something, or when to go, or when to book something. And I would argue, or in my opinion, I would say that there is no ideal. And when we say that the best decision is the one you make, the ideal is the ideal that's yours. Because it was freaking magical. And I think if we would have listened to, I don't know, whomever it might have been about, you know, I wouldn't take my 4-year-old to Disney ever. That would be a disaster. I wouldn't take.
They're not going to remember.
Yeah, they're not going to remember. You know, I wouldn't take my 4-year-old on a plane. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. It's like, well, that's great. Then that's up to you, right? We're not here to convince anybody. But the thing is that we don't want to wait, because we want to do things that feel right for us, that are our ideal, right? So if you have a 4-year-old, if you have a 6-year-old, if you have an 8-year-old, if you don't have kids, doesn't matter. That's not the point. It's what feels right for you, because we always say, you know, deep down what feels right for you. There are certainly a lot of things and factors that go into making decisions, whatever that might be, you know, and, you know, how many times have you ever said in hindsight, like, oh, I should have listened to what I was feeling? So I think that's the thing, is that we just went for it. You know, there were, again, even the resort that we booked at, we're not going to get into that, but you know, we did like our due diligence in a sense of, again, what felt right for us and what, you know, our research looks like for us and what is like the weighting in our decisions, right? So for some people, maybe Google is like 90% of like what goes into a decision, or maybe, you know, a friend's opinion is like 90% of what goes into a decision. So, you know, we did our like looking into whatever it was, and we said, yeah, let's just do it. Let's book that place. Looks great. And it was because we listened to our decision making and what we wanted to do. And we were so happy with that outcome. And I think, you know, I can't remember which one we spoke about this in, but sometimes when you make a decision and you factor so heavily on someone else, you know, it's really easy afterwards to feel disappointed and then to kind of blame that person with that opinion. But I think what we have to remember is that we're all individuals and everything feels different and everything is experienced differently through, you know, each individual perspective. And so again, like what's really important to someone, like, you know, when you see those ratings, right? It's like there's stars and it's like there's all different buckets. So if you are talking about, you know, a resort, even sometimes there's buckets of like the food, the entertainment, the cleanliness. I mean, that one should always be up there. What else? I don't know. But all to say, like, some people just weigh those buckets differently. So it's just about listening to yourself, you know, whatever the ideal is for you, listen to that and just go with it and have fun. And you know, feel that magic. And when you focus on the magic, like it's there, it can be totally in the everyday. What happened today? I feel like we should focus on like something that happened today that was magical, even in like sharing that, like it is in the everyday.
Well, here's one. So again, first day back from their spring March break, our youngest comes and tells us about her day. And what did she focus on? Her classroom was different. Things were moved, things were changed, added. She said a wall was painted. And just hearing how that was magical for her, at least for me, I was like, that's so cool. Because that's what you remembered from your day. And then the other two were talking about how they have, you know, their school is getting a movie day later this week, and you know what they're going to do for that, and they're getting popcorn. So again, finding those little things every day has really been something for me that has made, you know, reflecting on each day very magical in a sense, right? Whatever you want to describe it as gratefulness, gratitude, anything like that. But I hope that in talking about this grand magical trip, that it can be something where you can start to find the magic in every day, the happy in every day. Mm-hmm. Because that in the end was what we started to realize, because that was our first day there. I mean, we landed the day before, but that was our first day there. I think after that, each day we found something magical that wasn't even a part of going somewhere or doing something. It was just something that came from it. And again, could have happened anywhere in our everyday lives. But now, moving forward, having a conscious effort to really see those same magical moments that we experience on a trip at home or at a park is what I think we can really carry forward from this trip, because that is really what's going to help us in our family become more joyful, grateful, and happy.
You know what? Okay, so we talk about to-do lists a lot. So here's the thing. When you're writing out your to-do list. Okay. I challenge you, cross one of those mundane things off. Just do it. I think it's going to feel so good. Make your list, cross one of them off, and not cross it off like complete it, cross it off like you're not going to do it. And instead replace it with something fun. Just choose anything. It could be anything. Like eat ice cream before dinner.
Dessert first.
Dessert first. Shout out to Crystal and Joanne for that one. But that's the thing. How are we? And they shared with us
Is that a real
dessert
question?
first.
Sometimes you don't
I
know.
know. Sometimes I actually don't know, which is ridiculous. You're probably laughing at me, those of you that are listening. But it took us this long to be like, wait a second, you could eat dessert first? Yes, why not? And it actually tastes so good when you eat it first. So cross off one of those mundane things, add something fun, whether it be for yourself, whether it be for you and your kids or your entire family. Pop some popcorn and have a movie night. Are you listening to this on Tuesday? And make today, or order takeout randomly, or you know what? You don't even have to spend money. You could just, I don't know, cut out paper crowns and wear them at dinner. You could just do whatever. So cross out something mundane, add something fun to the list. Could be something small. Sit back and enjoy the magic, even if it's for 10 seconds. It'll make an impact. And I think it just feels really nice to be like, you know what? You could add magic to every day. You don't have to hop on a plane and go to Disney. Was it freaking magical, like we said? Yeah, absolutely. Do I want to go back tomorrow? Yes, please.
Didn't want to leave.
No, didn't want to go. So that's my challenge to you as we end this off.
Yes, I think that it was just a catalyst, like I said, to having that thought process, that reflection every day when you can, to just find the magic, find the joy, find the happy in the little moments, in the weekly moments, whatever it is, because you really start to really feel that, and you start to, again, where you stare is where you steer. So if you're looking for the magic, you're going to find the magic, and it's just going to snowball from there. So thank you everyone for letting us share this magical trip we just had. I hope that you can find the magic in your everyday, and it really helps you to start to move forward and create more joy and happiness and fulfillment in whatever you're doing. And again, it doesn't have to be on a trip. It can be anywhere. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining. And we look forward to speaking with you again later. Have a great day.